much. Okay, well, my story's a little bit different. And I'm probably not going to be as funny and entertaining as some, but I think it's worth sharing. Just over 2 years ago, I was in hospital just after having our youngest daughter, and my husband came home from a specialist appointment. Specialist appointments are always scary. And said that there wasn't a cure. There wasn't any pills or any therapy that could change what was in his head and his heart, that he should have been born a girl. And that the only way that he could keep living in our world was to go through gender reassignment and become a woman. And at that point, my world really crumbled. I didn't know what it was to be transgender. I had no idea that my husband of 9 years was. I didn't know anything about it. And for the first 6 months, I didn't tell anyone about it. We were an army family, so I was with my newborn baby going through our life on the base in Wagga. Sorry if there's any Wagga people here, but I hate Wagga.
Me too.
You know, and trying to go through the motions, and all I felt like doing was just screaming, honestly, saying, can't you tell? Can't you see that I've lost everything? My white picket fence future, my everything, my place in the world, everything is gone. And it was really, really hard. I educated myself about what being transgender was, so eventually I got to a place where intellectually I understood some people are born like this, and that's just something that they need to do, and the best treatment for trans people is to go through gender reassignment. I still found it very hard to accept that my knight in shining armour was one of those people. Yeah, and it's really hard. But, you know, he went out and I agreed. You know, I tried to be as accepting as I could. And so he started the therapy, hormone therapy, and started to do the things that you needed to do. And so intellectually I knew that he needed someone to help him, and of course I was his best friend and most trusted person, so I helped. And I remember one of the things very early on, he asked me how to do his eyebrows. And so everyone knows there's articles in Cosmo about where you line the pencil up and what you do, and so I've seen those. And so, again, intellectually I thought, yeah, I can do that. I know about that. And so he sat with his head on my lap and I got the tweezers and I did it all. And I thought, yeah, that's okay. And I was a bit detached from it. And then he sat up. And the eyes that I had looked at and loved for 10 years had woman's eyes, and it was just, they were a woman's eyes already. And it felt like someone had kicked me in the stomach. It was really hard. And it was really hard to lose the man that I loved, a little tiny bit at a time. And I had friends, and you know, we didn't tell them initially. When they eventually found out, they were really quite good. I didn't have to be as scared as I was. But no one really knew how to help, because how do you lose a person a tiny bit at a time over 18 months? And how do you let go of someone who's still there, sort of? And how do you mourn for someone and get used to the new person who's still a lot like the old person, but then still so different? And it has been very hard to get to go through that process, that grieving process, and to get used to the new person, and sometimes, honestly, to hate her for not being him, because I wanted him. But then slowly I've started to see that she is what he could have been if he wasn't so miserable and so shut down and all of those things that he was. That she is, you know, the perfect version of herself. Anyway, you know, as if this personal stuff wasn't enough, my husband was in the army, or is in the army, and so in the middle of all this drama, the army issued a termination notice. So that's 4 weeks notice after 11 years service. and overseas deployments and dragging our family around the country and being the good army family, 4 weeks notice and saying, get out. You lose your house, you lose your medical entitlements, which kind of matter at a time like that. You lose your community, your security, everything. And we had to fight that, and we had to fight that tooth and nail. And luckily, my partner is very smart, and she fought that and won, and she's kept her job. And there's a process through the Human Rights Commission that's still ongoing with the Defence Force with that. But yeah, so it has been a hugely difficult process, and I didn't know, if someone had asked me 2 years ago, I wouldn't have necessarily believed them if I had said to them that I would look at my partner, Bridget, and say that I love her and I want to spend the rest of my life with her. And I think that's because I've learnt a lot on the way about what's really important to me. My family, our daughters are 6 and 2, and they're beautiful, and they're a beautiful combination of the two of us. And my legacy to my family and to the wider community, and what I can share with them about diversity, about what it is to be human. You don't know what it is to be really happy unless you've gone through the really crappy bits. And you know, there's been so many tears. I didn't think I could actually cry that much, but I feel like it's kind of washed away the unimportant stuff. And now we have a family and a life that, you know, it's not perfect, no one's perfect, but it's really beautiful, and I love where we are. And we're doing some stuff with the community. We're starting something called Rainbow Families, and you know, we've got things to keep going with. The marriage issue, Bridget can't be legally recognised as female while we're still married, because 2 legally married females might bring the downfall of society or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, we're still discussing that with the government. But really, I'm discussing. But really, you know, I think that we've learned a lot about the choices that we make. And I'm not always making the perfect choices, but choosing to be open and honest and sharing our story instead of making it something that's scary or taboo or foreign. Choosing to be as loving and as accepting as I can, even though sometimes it hurts. Choosing to make the best out of what life has given me, and realise that I actually have it pretty good. I've got a beautiful family and a beautiful life, and you know, that's something to be happy about. And I think hopefully that's something everyone can sort of draw from, that whatever your situation is, it can feel really crappy at the time, and sometimes you have days where it still reminds you that it's really crappy. But there's 2 things you can do. One is get some really good chocolate, and the other is just make whatever little choices you can to be open, to be loving, to be human, and hopefully that will lead you to the life that you want.
Tammy Clinch. That's amazing. Recovery and resilience is the theme tonight. Our next speaker